Okay. Had to restart my computer there, so my camera wasn't working. Anyway, haven't done a video in a while. I was hoping to do it. I was on the verge of doing a diet update video, and then I went on vacation for a week. I was a pound away from doing my diet update, and I gained 10 pounds on my vacation, so that sucks. But that's not what this video is about. I'm going to lose the weight again. It's just going to take a while. This video is about the phrase, the follow your bliss, life is what you make it. Sort of you make your own purpose in life, this whole concept. This is a popular belief these days among secular people. Really, even among, it's funny because I feel like the same belief sort of even filters down to people who are religious too, I think maybe, I don't know, I can't tell if it's just because people are less religious than ever, or if, maybe religious people have some doubts about the afterlife. I think this idea that you make your own meaning in life, and that that life is what you make it type of thing. It's true. Unfortunately, that's the sad reality, is that it's a true saying. But this is what's so devastating. I think people who are happy with the way their lives have gone like to say these things. They like to say life is what you make it, because they feel as if, they've made their life into something that's worthwhile. But this idea that you should, follow your bliss, that life is, that life is what you make it, it's a shallow idea. It's a hollow. Not shallow. It's a hollow idea. It's a hollow idea. Because, in that case, anything goes. There's no rules. There's no consideration. It's pretty much, whatever you want your life to be, that's what it becomes. If you're, what was I going to say? As long as you can achieve the things that you want to achieve, as long as you can make your life what you want it to be made. And that's sort of, there's two parts of this this video. One thing is that, first off, it's a nice idea that you can make your life what you want, and that, it's all a matter of just, a lot of people would have you believe, that I've read a lot of these, sort of, there's a whole sphere of this sort of self-help world out there. There's a self-help mentality. There's this Tony Robbins mentality, which is like, you can make your life anything you want. There's endless possibilities, and you just have to focus and work hard, and you'll get there. And there's this with that philosophy is this idea that everyone can have success. Everyone can be successful, as long as they work hard and stay focused, and don't give up. And the bottom line is that is a lie. Everyone cannot do what they want to do. Why do I know this? Because most people have to do jobs that are required for society to function. And in order for society to function, most people cannot do what their dream is. They can't make their life into their dream world, If everybody wanted to be a rock star, if everybody wanted to be an actor, if everybody wanted to be a baseball player, whatever, all the fun jobs, if everybody wanted to be an inventor, if everybody wanted to be a, video game designer, any of the jobs you can think of that are fun jobs, well, guess what? There's a limited subset of people who can do those jobs. And it's not a matter of, oh, well, we can all get there. No, the bottom line is there's competition for these things. You have to compete with other people to get those jobs, and there's a very limited number of those jobs available because the bottom line is that the jobs that are fun are not what is required to maintain capitalism as it stands and, um, you know, our modern civilization way of life. If everybody wanted to be a rock star and really followed their dreams and went for it, guess what? Society would collapse because you can't exist in well, civilization anyway. I don't know about society, but civilization would collapse because you can't exist in a world where we cannot have. And someone's got to do the grunt work. Someone's got to be an accountant. Someone's got to be a be a ship's captain. Someone's got to drive a truck. Someone's got to work at the grocery store like me. People need to do these grunt jobs. You can't just do this idea that everyone can do. Everyone's dreams are possible, and we can all help each other. Moving on towards, move on towards what we want to make our life into. That is a lie. You cannot do it. My cousin believes these things. He believes that you can do anything you want. That we has unlimited possibility and things like this, as long as you believe it. But you just look at the big picture, and you can see. Everyone can't be a rock star, Everyone can't be an entertainment personality, Everyone can't be a pro sports player. There's a competition for these things. And just wanting it and just working hard isn't enough either. You have to have talent. You have to have talent. You have to have the right mentorship. You have to start early. That's a big thing. If you don't start when you're young, you're not going to have a leg up because there are people who were starting who knew what they wanted to do, or at least they were. And most of the time, they don't know what they want to do. They were pushed into something. Watching that movie about Serena and Venus Williams. Those kids were groomed to be tennis champions. And part of the reason why they were so great was because that's what they lived night and day. That's what their parents wanted for them, and fortunately for them, they embraced it. A lot of parents probably want their kids to grow up to be something else, some other, specialty type of thing, like, an actor or a musician or, a sports star athlete. And guess what? A lot of parents fail, We hear about the story of the ones that succeed, but they're not always going to succeed. A lot of times the kids aren't going to take to it. They don't want to be that thing that their parents want them to be, Serena and Venus Williams' father was very lucky that his kids turned out to be athletically capable and on board with his plan for their life. Kids are pretty moldable generally, but I would have loved to turn my niece into a virtuoso musician. Of course, I'm not with her all the time, so I can't really pressure her like that. But I don't think that that's what her interest is. She's not that interested in music. She doesn't naturally gravitate towards instruments. So, she's just not agreeable in that way. Some people are not going to do whatever you tell them to do. So, basically, that it's a competition. These things that everybody wants to do, the fun jobs, the jobs that don't suck, the jobs that you can revel in, the jobs that you can, that you can really love, careers that you don't, where you wake up in the morning and you don't dread going to work and you're excited about your work and, you accomplish things that are well suited to your talents and to your interests, that's rare. Most people don't get to do that. Most people have to settle for whatever job they can get with their limited skill set. And that's because, most of us don't really know early enough what we want to do. It's hard to know. It's hard to know what you're good at. And a lot of people, I don't think it's even a matter of what they're good at. It's just a matter of having the right mentors, and having someone sort of push you into something. The lucky people, the ones who are pushed into a certain way of being that take to it naturally. I think that's what it really comes to. People who are pushed and they take to it naturally, and they have a head start because they start so much younger than everybody else, and they have the right mentor and they have the right motivation, um, and they also have had life experiences that are self-reinforcing rather than self-defeating. There's a lot of things that can lead to a self-defeating mindset. That can lead to struggle and emotional issues, and those emotional issues make you less confident, make you less likely to um, believe in yourself and to put in, there's also, things that there's a matter of, work ethic. I think work ethic, it's some of its nature, some of its nurture. I'm not sure what percent is which. Um, but you're not gonna outcompete the greats out there unless you have a great work ethic, or you just have an insane amount of talent. It's one or the other. Either you're perfectly suited to something and you figure out what that is and you go and do it, or you just work like hell to get there, and it happens for you. Um, or it's not even that. A lot of times it's just luck. You're in the right place at the right time. You meet the right group of people. Um, you know, you happen to be on the cusp of something that's developing, and it just so happens that you're well suited to it in the moment. And it's not something that people like to. A lot of these self-help people like to claim that, oh well, how your life works out. It's this very popular conservative ideology that, oh well, everything is on you. Your actions, even this is funny because this is shared by conservatives and also by these new age spiritual types, new agey spiritual types like my cousin is. That you make your life, that it's all up to you, and that it's all your decisions and your choices and your actions that make your life, and that's just a lie as far as I'm concerned. It's a lie because you know, you don't have complete control over your world. No one has complete control over that world. You're dealing with lots of outside influences that want things a different way than the way you want them. And if you're lucky, you can navigate those things. And if you have the right, if you're like I said, if you're ahead of the curve and you have the right mentorship and you happen to be in the right place at the right time, things can go well for you. But it's this idea that you are the sole steerer of your ship. My dad always puts it this way, you have a rudder, you can go out in the boat and you have a rudder, but you can't control the way the wind blows. And that's what life is. You do not make your life alone. You obviously you play a part in it. You do what you can. You try to push things the way you want them to go. But a lot of the time it's not your fault if things don't work out. I think that there's this terrible shaming that they put on people and make them feel like, oh well, if something's not great in your life, it's your fault. You did something wrong. Your actions. And yeah, to some extent, all right, there is a percentage of fault that goes to you. If you didn't get to where you wanted to go, it's partially on you. I was one of those people that wanted one of those fun jobs. I wanted to be a musician. At least that's what I thought was fun. I don't even know how fun it really is, but it seems fun. I like playing music in general. It seems easier than a lot of other jobs. It seems better than working at a grocery store, more fulfilling anyway. But there was, I didn't realize that I always liked music, but I never really had I wanted to play drums when I was a kid. I asked my dad for a drum kit when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and he said no. He didn't want me to get a drum kit because they didn't want me practicing and making a bunch of noise. And, maybe if I'd kept pushing, I was kind of, I didn't really, push the limits. I could have said, every day, every week or whatever, I could have been like, Dad, I want a drum kit. Dad, I want a drum kit. I want a drum kit. But he said no, and I just sort of said, well, that's that. I didn't fight like that. And I don't know if that's something in my character or, or if it just wasn't that important to me. But I didn't end up starting to learn an instrument until I was in my 20s. 20 exactly. I was about 20. And that's too late. It's too late to compete for those jobs. There are too few musician jobs, and even more so, I started learning by 20, and rock music is almost all but dead. Just, I don't know, really, like 5, 10 years later. I mean, there's been a few bands since, 2000, which is when I started learning. There's been a few rock bands here and there, but I mean, rock music is a far cry from what it used to be, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and early 90s. Rock music pretty much died by mid 90s. I mean, there were rock bands, but they were all just throwbacks, or, I'm not, most of the rock bands, they weren't breaking a lot of new ground past the 90s. Rock was not the area for innovation past the mid 90s. Innovation was happening more in rap I mean, if you want to call it innovation, I mean, to me it's gotten worse. But anyway, old man take there. So yeah, it's like, I mean, it wasn't the right time for me. Even if I made a push, I made them only the best push I could to become a musician, but I was late and I couldn't compete. I could not compete with the other people out there. And rock music was in its, death phase by the time I had any kind of ability whatsoever. So yeah, maybe you could say, well, if you'd only started earlier and this and that, and maybe if I'd, pushed my parents, yeah, okay, maybe some of it's on me. I could have tried harder. I could have started younger. I could have, innovated more. Maybe I could have tried a different music other than rock music. I could have tried to been successful in different music or something like that, you could say. But to put this all on me, to say, oh, it's all my fault, I mean, there's circumstances here. My dad didn't want me to get a drum kit. Um, Video games came out. Video games were suck your time away. You play a bunch of video games, and it's like it was tempting. Um, you want to relate to other kids. Nobody I went to school with played an instrument. I went to school in Southern California. Nobody was in a band. Nobody ever said, "Hey, let's play some music." There wasn't a lot of incentive. Rap artists were popular when I was in school, so I didn't have much. I didn't have like a major mentor to look up to in rock music that was, beloved amongst my peers. I didn't want to be Warren G. I didn't want to be Snoop Dogg. I didn't know how to rap. I wasn't that into rap. I mean, I didn't dislike rap. I like some Snoop Dogg and some Notorious B.I.G. and some of the stuff that was popular when I was in school. But it doesn't speak to me, obviously. Um, the experiences that they were talking about, thug life or whatever. It wasn't always thug life, but it was like they were. What they were rapping about, the sort of one-upmanship of rapping, the West Coast, East Coast, these feuds and things like that. This is all stuff that didn't relate to me. It wasn't interesting. There was nothing spurring me forward to try to become a rap artist. Obviously, it wasn't culturally relevant to me, particularly. I didn't like it. I didn't like the whole gangster rap. That was what was big in the mid to late '90s. Gangster rap. So it's not just me. It's like, yeah, maybe I made the decision not to pursue it, but there's influences in your life. It's not just you. You're influenced by all the things around you, and to claim for these people to claim that, oh well, everything that happens in your life is a result of your decisions. That's wrong. People are influenced by what happens around them. You can't act like you have complete control of your life. Nobody has complete control of their life. This is a lie, and what it's mostly told because it's another justification of capitalism. It's another way for people to, if you're feeling like, oh well, my life is, I don't like my life in capitalism. Oh well, the problem must be you, because the problem is not the system. In our system you can do anything you want, so you must be the problem, not the system. Not the system that controls your behavior, that inundates you with mental programming about how to behave and what to think. You know, um, it's this whole. I don't know why they do it in I think they do it in conservatives, and capitalism does it so that there is no blame at all on their system of oppression for your unhappiness with your life. They want you to believe that there's nothing, no one, even though the reality of the matter is the super wealthy do in a lot of ways control our lives, but they don't want you to know that. They want you to think that you have freedom. There's this illusion of freedom that they give you in capitalism. They want everyone to think that they have complete control over their lives when that's total horseshit. Pardon my language, but that's just the bottom line. You do not have complete control. And there's a nice, belief they call freedom, American freedom and things like that. Freedom to do the things that are approved by the powers that be, not freedom to do the things that revolutionary things. I wanted to do things that were revolutionary. I wanted to shake things up, I wanted to do things that would challenge the dominant paradigm, and that's got to be the hardest thing of all to do, because there's plenty of systems set up so that you can, follow in the footsteps of the titans of industry. I mean, you can't exactly follow in their footsteps, but they give you a chance to. You can become a wealthy business owner. You can become, if you work hard enough and you get the right education and things like that. You make the sacrifices necessary. There are ways for you to move up in the world. I'm not trying to say there isn't, but the ways that you move up are going to be predetermined, prescribed ways that will fit you into the same mold and the same mindset as the people who are already successful. You will not be successful with an alternative mindset. And if you are, you will probably, you will be of concern. Just like, like John Lennon was tracked by the FBI. Why was John Lennon tracked by the FBI? Because the things he was saying were dangerous to capitalism. It didn't vibe. He was pointing out the hypocrisy. He was pointing out the flaws in the system. They didn't like that. That's why they were tracking him. They didn't like the lack of control. That's like they didn't like LSD, because that showed people a different reality that wasn't the one that exists, where the dominant paradigm has control over your mind and your actions to some extent. Not entirely, obviously, but like I said, if you're trying to do something that's really going to shake things up, that's revolutionary, it's going to be difficult, because there aren't a lot of predetermined paths laid out for you to shake things up in that way, to be a revolutionary. And if they are, it's like, it's almost like the disruptors, the tech disruptors, it's basically just other forms of greed, other forms of capitalist, profit mongering, or whatever you want to say. The only ways to disrupt are ways that create profit. In the end, it's all about creating profit. If you're trying to disrupt by doing something that doesn't involve creating profit, good luck, because it's not easy. No one will. There's no guidebook for that. You got to figure that out on your own. And even becoming a famous musician, I mean, you can say some things that'll or an actor or whatever, someone famous. You can try to say things that'll rock the boat a little bit, but mostly you'll be dismissed as as someone who's not worth paying attention to, and you won't be able to generate the kind of power necessary to really make a dent in society in that way. Not easily, anyway. Not barring a major disaster. It would take a major disaster to start convincing people, because I think that disaster will come, but I've been saying that for a while, and so far we're seeing, the gas prices now make me wonder. We could be close to peak oil right now. I still wonder when the prices will. Well, I think we're in the Rocky Plateau, but anyway, this isn't about peak oil. So, yeah, the first point I wanted to make is that no, you do not have complete control over your life. You can influence things in a way that you that maybe gets you closer to something that is acceptable. But if you want to do anything that challenges the power structure of the super wealthy, the stranglehold they have on power these days, you're not gonna. It's not. It's almost impossible. It's very, very difficult. And even if you do challenge that structure, chances are you're just going to create chaos, and then another group of wealthy assholes or people who are narcissistic and selfish are going to end up taking over again. That's been the way of the world. Humans don't seem to have the ability to. There doesn't seem to be an ability for the righteous to take power and hold power. It's rare that anyone who is righteous, that anyone who is caring, anyone who is empathetic, takes power and holds it. It's the narcissistic, it's the selfish, it's the people who are willing to win at all costs who are successful. And that kind of moves me into my next point, which is this idea that life is what you make it. Well, what I started this whole thing. Without ethics, this idea that life is what you make it is not any kind of a consolation. It's not something that should be celebrated, is what I mean to say. It seems like a lot of people like to believe that this is something worth celebrating, that life is what you make it. The reality is, this is a sad, sad truth, that life is what you make it, because what that means is that if life is what you make it, then there is no incentive to be a good human being, to be empathetic, to care about other people. The guy who shot up the people in Texas or whatever, life is what he made it. He made life into a nightmare for those people, and he ended up shooting himself in the end. Why is that? Even though that's a terrible thing that he did, and I certainly don't condone shooting up people. Why is that any more or less meaningful than becoming a rock star, becoming a doctor, or whatever? Without. If life is only self-directed, if life only comes from us, then ethics don't matter. You need to have someone setting rules somewhere. You need to have a grand scheme of things. You need to have an afterlife. You need to have judgment. You need to have rewards for good behavior and consequences for bad behavior. You could say, well, this guy's consequence for shooting up the school in Texas is that he died, But what kind of a consequence is that, This guy was depressed, or he was, in a bad way, for obviously, otherwise he wouldn't. I think he was a loner. He didn't have a lot of friends. Women didn't like him. So are you going to tell me that the consequence was that he died early? Well, what did he do? Maybe he saved himself years of grieving, years of dissatisfaction, years of... That's not much of a consequence to die early when you're hating your life, Yeah, sure, the world would be a worse place if we were all killing each other. But, not, I mean, on a level it would be, obviously no one wants to go around, being shot, but at the same time, there's so many people in the world that you really don't need 8 billion people, That's not to say that obviously the answer is to go around killing everybody, but I guess what I'm saying is, there's no... it's like there's just no rhyme or reason to existence if there's no one watching over us, if there's no plan here. If this is all random and you just make the reality that you make, and that's that, then the reality is meaningless, If there's no overarching sense of justice, you can't make justice, They say life is what you make it. Well, one person cannot make justice. It takes a collective will to make justice. And the collective will is not to be create justice. The collective will of humanity is not to create justice. The collective will of humanity is to basically be hedonists, you know. And that's the sad truth is that, you know, if um, if doing the right thing made us happy, then I'd be more likely to believe in a higher power, you know. But that's not what makes you happy. What makes you happy are base level things, you know, having sex or having girls interested in you, or for women having, you know, not just girls, but you know, the best looking girls, the most, you know, successful men. As if you're a woman, you know, hierarchy. Being at the top of a hierarchy makes you feel good. Feeling like, you know, no one can tell you what to do. You know, autonomy, personal autonomy, resources, accruing resources, and having those resources available. You know, lack of fear about your financial security, that makes you happy. You know, having the having the ability to not spend your life doing something that you're forced to do for money. You know, if you have wealth, you can do whatever you want with your time. You don't have to spend your time providing for yourself. Or if you are providing for yourself, doing something that obviously you love, which, as I mentioned, is not something that is easy to do given external circumstances. Everyone cannot do what they love, because if everyone did what their dream was, if everyone achieved their dream, you would not have the multitudes of people necessary to have civilization run the way it does. It's just impossible. And you know, this is the problem with the idea of making your own, you know, reality or whatever. It just doesn't work. You know, you cannot do it alone. Everyone needs to work together. And people aren't interested in working together. People are interested in their own selfish gain, and they're interested in sating their base desires, which are finding the best mate, having the best kids, you know, perpetuating your genes in favor of everyone else's, being the boss, you know, never being told what to do, um, you know, being respected, being loved, being appreciated. Uh, I mean, these are not things that, you know. I consider myself a pretty good person. You know, I try to be as good of a person. I try to live fairly ethically. I mean, I'm not perfect. I have my failings, but I do a better job than a lot of people, I think. And yet, you know, I don't have a lot of people who love me. Um, I'm not a hard enough worker. You know, hard work shouldn't be a. I don't think, you know, personally, I don't think of hard work as being a major indicator of your value as a human being. I'm more concerned with, you know, are you nice? Are you funny? Are you, um, you know, empathetic? Do you care about, you know, nature? Do you care about, um, you know, trying to make other people's lives better? You know, um, you know, oh, sorry. You know, are you easy to get along with? Are you full of yourself? Are you egotistical? You know, do you want to help other people, or do you want to, you know, make their lives harder? You know, how much work you put in. I mean, that's good for you, but the amount of work you put in, it doesn't necessarily help other people. Depends on the type of work you're doing, but most of the people that get a lot of credit for having good work ethic are doing it purely for selfish gain most of the time, or at least, if they are benefiting people, it's an externality of what they're doing. It's not their goal. Their goal is to get ahead. And by get ahead, it means get ahead in the rat race, in the competition, me versus you. So having a good work ethic most of the time is in this society is about benefiting yourself at the expense of others. That's what competition means. You know, um, so I don't have a great work ethic. It's probably my biggest flaw, generally. Um, there's this myth that having a great work ethic benefits everybody, but that's not true. In the world where we're overutilizing the world's resources, having a great work ethic contributes to that overutilization. What we need is everyone to work less, not more. Or if they do work more, they have to work on ways to make life sustainable. That has to be the work, not work on make money at all costs, which is what most people are working for. Um, so I'm not a saint, but I consider myself to be a decent person, and yet you know people don't respect me, and most people don't respect me. Um, I'm treated like shit because I live with my parents and because I haven't achieved anything. People want you to achieve things because they want to be around. People want to be around people who are achieving things because they want to get ahead. So they want to be around someone who knows how to get ahead. They don't want to be around people who drag them down. People they see as having a loser mentality or a weak mentality. Um, so I don't have a lot of friends. Um, I see my family as much as I can, and I love them, but they're not making me a high priority, as I've said in previous videos. They like to spend time with me here and there, but they're not going to make major sacrifices in order to see me or to, um, you know, I'll be going to them. I'll be visiting them. They won't be visiting me most of the time. There's a few family members that I appreciate that do want to come see me, and they tend to be other people, other family members who are similar, are like me, and that they're not highly motivated to achieve you know financial success. They're more interested in spending time with someone who who laid back, who is funny, who cares about other people. Those the family members I spend time with are ones that aren't as focused on worldly pursuits. But most of my family is focused on worldly pursuits, or they just are so busy with work that they don't really have time for me. And so, as a person who I think is a pretty decent person in general, I don't have a lot of people clamoring to be with me. Women are not interested in me particularly. Um, I mean, they're not interested, I guess, but when I was younger, especially, the women I was really interested in, weren't interested in me. They would rather judge you based on your ambition and your work ethic than your agreeableness, I guess, and your empathy and your whatever. I'm kind of getting lost here, but basically what I'm saying is, I've tried to live life by ethical principles. I think I'm a decent person, and yet in life, um, you know, I have not had a life that is satisfactory to me. I'm stuck in a position where I have to spend most of my time doing things that I don't want to do, which is work. Every day I go, I don't grow as a person. I do the same tasks over and over again, um, and I'll remain, an unremarkable person. Um, I'm not going to ever be able to um, have a relationship with a woman that I find attractive or that I feel like is someone who would be good for me. The women I find attractive are not interested in me. I'm not a confident guy. I don't see anything wrong with not being a confident guy. I think it's better not to be confident than to be confident. But women don't want guys who aren't confident. I think if you're confident, it shows how little you realize about yourself and the world, you know? I mean, to be confident in the world, I mean, it's not to say that you shouldn't, you know, not to say that you shouldn't be confident at all, but it's just like, you know, who are you? You know, what makes you think you're so great? You know, isn't it better to be humble than to be, you know, self-assured? Isn't it better to have realization of your insignificance in the world than to think that your shit doesn't stink and that every woman should you know should bow at your feet? You know, that's you know that's not the guys who do well. The guys who do well, the ones who have this inflated opinion of themselves. You know, they think that they're better than everyone. You know, that shouldn't be. But that's what women want. They want guys that are full of themselves. It's you know, I mean, you know, I don't know. Basically, my point is, um, you know, I tried to live ethically and I wasn't rewarded for it. You know, in a better world, in a world where there was an overarching, um, you know, godlike presence, then living the way I lived would come with more rewards. You know, you wouldn't have to go out and make things happen. You know, this idea of making things happen. You know, um, in a world where there was a God that cared about you and where there was a reason to be righteous, you would either receive rewards for being righteous in life, or you would receive rewards for being righteous after your life is over. Now, obviously, there's a possibility that something happens after life is over. There's some judgment, maybe there's some reward for good behavior, but there's no proof of that, and it does really seem like a fabrication, a wishful thinking fabrication by humanity, because we spend a lot of time trying to make life fit into um, an idealized version of what we think it should be. We want to believe that you know that there are consequences for bad behavior and that there are rewards for good behavior. And people want it's hard for people to accept the idea that you can be a bad person and receive rewards for that. But as I mentioned in a previous video, just look at Genghis Khan. You know, just look at any of the kings. You know, King Henry VIII or whatever. These are not good people, and they had all kinds of rewards in their life. Um, Even Ted Bundy, guy who murdered tons of people, had women, you know, throwing themselves at him. Um, you know, that Tsarnaev kid, girls that were crazy about Tsarnaev. That's kind of a weird one because I mean both of those guys suffered in their lives, but um, you know, there's been many wealthy and powerful men who are very bad, very extremely bad people, have done terrible things, and reaped the benefits of doing terrible things, for being conquerors, for you know controlling armies, for just being tough, dominant. You know, a la Trump. You know, look at Donald Trump. You know, this guy's he's an asshole, and I'm sorry for you people disagree or fucking wrong, but he's you know he's a rich boy. And his dad gave him everything. His dad built up the business, and he inherited millions and millions of dollars, and he acts like he created the whole thing himself. Um, and you know, a lot of us could be as successful if we had a father with that much money. His father was uber rich. Um, so the bottom line is just that you know, unless there's something that happens after life is over. You know, this idea that you make your own reality. Well, you know, making your own reality. There's nothing to be. Um, you know, if there's no overarching sense of moral responsibility, you know, if there's no reason to be ethical, then making your own reality is no consolation. Um, there's nothing good about the fact that everything that happens is self-directed. As I mentioned, it's not self-directed. That's a bunch of BS. But even if it was, um, all it proves is that everything is random. That we live in a world of random occurrences, and nothing you do without an ethical grounding to it um, has any real meaning. It's just hedonism. It's just following pleasure for the sake of, you know, for selfish reasons. And and if you're going to be one of these people who says, well, by you seeking your pleasure, someone else will get pleasure somehow too. Well, that's not true. You know, it's a competition. Life is a competition. It's not a cooperation. I wish it could be a cooperation, but that's not how it's set up. It's set up so that we are in direct opposition to one another. That's the real sadness of the world today. It's a battle. There's no cooperation going on here. And if there is cooperation, it's kind of like, I'll help you until you no longer help me, and then adios, muchacho. We move on to somebody else. So, life is what you make it. Well, if that's true, then it's devastating. It's devastating that that's all that life is. Life is all that life is what you make it. And to me, it's, maybe in a different system, in a different world. I'm not saying life inherently is bad. Maybe life has some redeeming qualities to it. Obviously there's a lot to experience in life, and on some level, I guess experiencing things is better than not experiencing them. But, on another level, life is full of injustice. Life is full of, and with all, and if you believe that life is what you make it, then it sort of puts this pressure on you to, do something with your life, because there's so many things that can be done. And you start to feel this guilt, or like this sadness that you aren't doing all, even half or a tenth of the things that are possible. There's so many options, so many paths you could follow. And to me, I can't help but feel like, given my life the way it is, I'm trapped. I'm trapped doing something I don't want to do 40 hours a week. And when people say, well, life is what you make it, then you feel guilty for not doing more with it. You feel guilty for spending so much time doing something that you don't want to be doing. But the reality of the matter is, most of us have to do that. Most of us are going to be forced to do something we don't love doing for 40 hours a week, because, as I mentioned, everyone's dreams can't come true. It is impossible. Society and civilization will cease to function if everybody's dreams came true. That's the bottom line. Um, I feel like I could just end it there, but you know. So I'm tired of this feeling of guilt. They're always trying to guilt you, say it's your fault. I think it's people. It's one of the things is capitalism, and on the new agey side of it, it's this. New agey people, spiritual people, quote unquote spiritual people. I think they're in denial about the reality of life, or they just can't believe that the existence that we have is all there is. They're desperately want to believe that somehow they can escape the rat race. I think new agey people have this belief, like, if they believe hard enough, that they can get out of the rat race, that the rules don't have to apply to them. But it's self-delusion. At some point you will come to the realization that you have to play the game a little bit, unless there's a total revolution, and that those tend to be short-lived and lead to chaos and death. So new agey people, I think, are just so unwilling to accept reality, that they'd rather create a fantasy world where they can have anything they want, where they can manifest existence as they want. You can manifest, you know, you can manifest, elements of existence, but you can't manifest the whole thing. Don't let people shame you for being stuck in a bad situation. I guess the bottom line of this video is, don't feel like you're a failure because you're not doing exactly what you want in life. Um, you know, don't feel like you're a failure because your dreams didn't come true. Most people's dreams don't come true. They can't come true by requirement. Um, no one's telling people this. Don't feel like your life is messed up only because of you. Maybe partially because of you it is, but maybe you got some bad breaks. Luck is a thing. Luck exists. Everything isn't on your shoulders. Don't blame yourself. I'm the only. I mean, I don't even believe this because I've been told so many times that it's all my fault. But I think it's harmful. There's this, both New Ages and capitalists. They'll pile on you. They'll make you feel like, oh, you're stuck in a bad situation. It's all your fault. Well, you have some control. I'm not trying to say it's not your fault at all, but recognize that you behave the way you behave, not just because there's a lot of things that lead you to behave the way you behave, and it's really overwhelming the amount of influence other people and society have on how you behave, and to think that it's easy to toss all that off and to just do whatever you want to do in life. It's not easy for most people, and the few people that are happy with their jobs and were lucky enough, it probably has more to do with luck than skill or um, or even hard work. I mean, hard work is definitely a part of it, but also, those people, they're doing the things they want. I mean, sure, we appreciate them. We appreciate pro athletes, but is a pro athlete as good as a grocery store worker? In reality, pro athletes, create entertainment for us, but it's meaningless entertainment. But the food you eat, what about the food you eat? Who's gonna put that on the shelf for you? Who's gonna grow it? What about the farmers who grew it in the first place? What about the trucker who had to deliver it? I'm not trying to say that I think our food system is effed, and that it shouldn't have to be that many people involved. There should be just really the person growing it, and we should be living in small communities where we're growing our own food and things like that. But all I'm saying is that you know these larger than life figures don't contribute to everyone's lives as much as they're made out to. They live these great lives, but in the end, it ends up being at least not great lives. They live these lives of excitement and you know respect, and from a lizard brain point of view, they get a lot out of life. But what they're doing um, is only so helpful to other people. And if your dreams don't come true, just remember that if you got stuck doing something like I'm doing, I mean, it's not much of a consolation because unfortunately, as I mentioned, what brings happiness are things that please the lizard brain, and most of it, working in a grocery store, on my part, it doesn't make me happy deep down. I want attractive women to like me. I want people to respect me. I want to be able to have time to do what I want with my life. I don't have those things, so it's not going to make me happy to say it. But on the other side of it, I'm providing a service, a service to other people. It's not going to make me happy. I wish it did. I wish that doing things for other people, really made you happy. There's all this BS about, oh yeah, go volunteer. That'll make you happy. That's bullshit. Volunteering doesn't make you happy. It doesn't make you feel appreciated. Having beautiful women interested in you, that's what makes you happy. Going on vacation to Tahiti, That's what makes you happy, you know. Having the money to be able to go on vacation, the money and the time, um, you know, having kids who have all the resources they need in the world to get by, you know, that's what makes people happy. It's sad. I wish that wasn't what made people happy. I wish that being empathetic and that doing things for other people really made us happy. But that's not reality for most people. And if that is you, if there are people, there probably are people out there that doing those things makes you somewhat happy. But you know, those things alone can't make you happy. You know, there are very few people like Jesus wandering, you know, the earth looking to help people because that's their true calling. You know, why do you think that is? Why do you think most of us aren't Jesus? Why do you think most of us aren't saints? You know, because deep down, altruism does not make you happy, unfortunately. And we'd be living in a better universe if it did. And deep down, selfish pursuits are what make people happy, the achievement of selfish pursuits. And, you know, that's why this concept of making your own life and living your bliss and things like that is a sad concept, because what it really means deep down is that there's no reason to be ethical. Do whatever the hell you want, you know. It doesn't really matter. Everything's random. You're going to die. You make whatever life experience you make, you know. And, you know, the philosophy sort of seems to say, oh, make your life what you want. Yeah, so be a hedonist, you know, be selfish, do whatever you want for yourself, because you know you got to make your life, you know, whatever you make it. So you may as well make it something that satisfies your lizard brain and and brings you joy in life. But guess what? You know, the things that bring you joy are not great for everyone else, and so you know making your life what you make it. Well, you know, I'm not making a life that's very happy, but at least I'm making a life that isn't attempting to actively screw other people over. And even though that's not going to make me happy, I hope it counts for something somewhere, even though I highly doubt it. Um, yeah, it's sad. All I'm saying is that reality is sad, and so don't go around crowing about life is what you make it, and you know you got to make life happen. Life doesn't come to you. Life should come to you. You know, things should happen to good people. Good things should happen to good people. Bad things should happen to bad people. But that's not how things were set up, and it's a fucking tragedy. And you know, the last thing I'll say about it is that, you know, for that reason, there's, you know, they always tell you to be grateful for life and life is a wonderful thing and appreciate life and it's amazing, you know. Well, sometimes it is, you know, and there are a lot of things to appreciate in life, but sometimes people have legitimate gripes, you know, and the injustice of the world, the difficulties, the challenges, the frustrations, um, you know, the lack of reward for doing the right thing. Those are bad things about life, you know. Life is not as black and white as people like to make it out to be. So when people say life is good, that you should appreciate life, that you should be grateful, yeah, some of the time you should be grateful. Some of the time life is good. There's a lot of great things to enjoy in life. Experiencing life is in some ways better than not. But there's also a lot of shitty parts of life, you know. There's a lot of life that makes you sad, makes you angry, makes you frustrated, that makes you, um, you know, that's tragic parts of life. And this is just, you know, this is the nature of reality. I'm tired of people telling you one way or the other. You know, should you be grateful for the good things? Absolutely. But do you have a right to be upset and frustrated about the bad things? Absolutely. You know, it's both. You know, don't call people ungrateful if they're experiencing pain. If they're you know, there's all these people say, oh yeah, you got to make the, you know, you got to appreciate every little moment. You know, you don't have to appreciate every little moment. If you know, if your son just died, you don't have to appreciate that moment. Don't appreciate the grief. Don't appreciate the pain. You know, if your dog died, if you're, you know, if you just lost a finger or an arm, or you know, if you just watched your buddy get shot, if you have PTSD, don't appreciate that. You know, screw that. You know, give it the finger. You're allowed to be pissed off at life. You know, you're allowed to be disappointed. It's not all your fault. Sometimes life fucks you over, and you know you got to live with it. So it's okay. You know, don't put so much pressure on yourself. You know, life isn't always what you make it. Those are the two main takeaways of this thing to wrap up. You know, life isn't always what you make it. You know, life is a competition, unfortunately. Your genes versus my genes. I wish it didn't have to be that way. I wish we could all live together in harmony, but that's not how it's set up. It's set up stupid. There's a lot of good experiences in life. Great food, great views, you know, laughter, um, you know, not drama, but there you can appreciate the drama of life, I guess, to some extent. You know, there's ups and downs, but you know, there's going to amusement parks or whatever, the thrills of life, falling in love. Some people are lucky enough to fall in love with someone that they love. Not me, but other people. Um, there's lots of good in life too, but don't feel like you have to be appreciative all the time. Don't feel like you have to be grateful for everything, you know. Life would be better with justice. It really would. You make the most of it, you know. You have to make the most of life. Enjoy what you can. My dad always says. He's a wise man, my father. Um, he appreciates it more than I do. I try to appreciate what I can, but that's the bottom line. You know, don't feel guilty if your life isn't going the way you want. Um, just take the good with the bad, and yeah, I don't know when it's over. I mean, it's just aging and dying. Seeing all your friends die. There's a lot of bad in life, and the older you get, the harder it gets, from what I can tell. The golden years are anything but golden. But you appreciate the little things more. And maybe when I get to be 60, I will. Because right now, all I feel like is my life is being wasted on things that I don't love. And it's probably a selfish attitude. It's probably my lizard brain telling me I'm not getting the things I want. It's making me sad and depressed. That I can't be respected in the world. That I can't find love in the world. That 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 people don't appreciate me the way I appreciate them. Um, that my talents are being wasted. My time is being wasted. But the reality of the matter is, even if I did the things that I really wanted to do, there's no guarantee that that would be better for the world than what I'm doing now, in reality. So it's a tough pill to swallow, but I guess, be happy with whatever good things come along and screw the rest.